The greatest loss in that dynamic was never going to be yours. It was always going to be theirs. Listen, the truth is, when you are in a narcissistic relationship, life is no longer about living. It becomes about surviving. And in that state, no green smoothie, no yoga pose, no beautiful crystal can quiet the storm inside you that shakes your entire being every single day. We are often told that to improve our lives, we simply need to fix our habits, sleep more, eat better, exercise, think positively. And yes, all of that matters. But when you are in a relationship where your reality is constantly being invalidated, the problem is not how much water you drank or how many calories you consumed. The problem is that you have lost trust in your own reality. Slowly, you are taught that your needs don't matter, that your voice is too much, that your emotions are an overreaction. And then there comes a point where you silence yourself before anyone else even has the chance to do it. This is the most dangerous aspect of narcissistic relationships. They don't just break you, they reshape you. You are no longer the person you once were. You become who they want you to be: quiet, compliant, confused, and most of all, disconnected from yourself. And this doesn't happen overnight. It is a process, a quiet, ongoing, deeply embedded process. In the beginning, they make you feel special. They see you, they hear you, they admire you. You feel like someone has finally understood you. But slowly, the very things that were once your strengths become your weaknesses. You are sensitive, then you are a dramatic. You are caring, then you are a too much. You speak the truth, then you are creating problems. And then comes the moment when you begin to doubt your own inner voice. You start thinking, maybe I really am overthinking. Then maybe I shouldn't feel this much. And if I change, everything will be okay. But those maybes are the very chains that keep you stuck. Because the truth is, no matter how much you change, it will never be enough. Because you are not the problem. In narcissistic relationships, there is an unspoken contract, one that is never said out loud, but lived every single day. And that contract says that for the relationship to survive, you must erase yourself. You are not allowed to have a separate identity. You are not allowed to have independent desires. You are not allowed to have boundaries. And if you ever try to stand up for yourself, you are immediately punished with silence, anger, sarcasm, or emotional withdrawal. And slowly, you learn that staying quiet is safer. Especially if all of this began in your childhood. If you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where you were only valued when you met someone else's expectations, then this becomes your normal. You learn that to be loved, you must lose yourself. And when you grow up and enter relationships, you unconsciously repeat the same patterns. You are drawn to people who make you feel the same way you felt as a child because it is familiar, even if it hurts. And you keep trying to give more, understand more, tolerate more. Because deep down, you believe that if you just try hard enough, maybe this time it will finally work. But the truth is, this relationship will never be fixed by you fixing yourself because it is built on your sacrifice, your silence, your self-erasure. And then comes a moment, a shift, when something inside you begins to change. It is not loud or dramatic. It is a quiet realization, a deep exhaustion, an inner truth that finally finds its place. You pause. You start to see. You begin to question. Why do I always assume I'm the one who's wrong? Why am I always trying to change myself? Why am I losing myself in this relationship? And that is where awakening begins. It is not easy because it comes with pain, the pain of realizing that what you thought was love was actually control. That what you thought was closeness was actually dependency. And what you convinced yourself of was never the truth. But within that pain, there is also power. Because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. You slowly begin to reclaim your voice. You start setting boundaries. You learn to say a no without guilt. And most importantly, you begin to see yourself again through a lens you had long lost. This journey is not easy. It is not linear. Some days you will feel strong, and other days you will feel broken. But every step, every small victory, brings you closer to who you truly are. And this is the point where the narcissist makes their biggest mistake. They assume you will always stay the same. They believe you will never change, never wake up, never leave. But what they fail to understand is that the light within you cannot be suppressed forever. And when that light rises again, you don't just change, you become free. And when you are free, you begin to see everything that was once invisible. You begin to understand that love never diminishes you. Love never silences you. Love never disconnects you from yourself. And then you make a new decision. You decide that you will no longer live a life where you have to erase yourself. You decide that your worth will no longer be measured by someone else's behavior. You decide that you will be who you truly are, without apology. Yeah, and that is where true power begins, where real transformation happens, where life is reborn, and then another truth slowly begins to take root within you. A truth that may have once felt impossible to accept. That you didn't just lose a person, you lost an illusion. A story that was told to you again and again, but was never real. Because in narcissistic relationships, the deepest wound is not the betrayal, but the hope you attach to it. The hope that one day things would get better. The hope that if you were more patient, more understanding, if you changed just a little more, they would finally see you the way you deserve to be seen. But slowly, you begin to understand that day will never come. And accepting that is not easy because it carries grief. Not the grief of losing a person, but the grief of losing a dream. And this is where a new kind of strength is born within you. It is not loud. It is quiet, but deeply powerful. You stop reacting. You stop trying to prove your point. You stop answering every accusation. Because you realize that some battles are not meant to be won. They are meant to be walked away from. You also begin to understand that silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is a boundary. Sometimes silence is self-respect. And as you are learning all of this, another difficult phase begins. Learning to forgive yourself. You ask yourself, why did I tolerate so much? Why did it take me so long to understand? Why did I let myself get lost? But this is where you must meet yourself with compassion. Because the truth is, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. You loved because you are a loving person. You hoped because there was light within you, and that is not your weakness. That is your humanity. Slowly, you begin to hear your inner voice again, the one that had been silenced for so long. The voice that says, I am enough. The voice that says, I don't need to prove myself. The voice that says, my boundaries matter. And as that voice grows stronger, your choices begin to change. You start walking away from places that make you feel small. You create distance from people who dim your light. You stop accepting things that once confused you. It is not easy, because old patterns try to return. Sometimes the doubt comes back, the fear, the loneliness. But the difference now is you are awake. You don't let yourself stay in that darkness for long. You remind yourself of how far you've come and how you found your way back to yourself. And this is where your life begins to shift in a new direction. You begin to see love differently. You understand that love is not something that exhausts you, not something that confuses you, not something that disconnects you from yourself. Love is something that brings you peace, that allows you to be yourself, that helps you grow without fear, without pressure. And when you accept this truth, another door opens within you, the door of reconnecting with yourself. You learn to spend time with yourself without feeling incomplete. You rediscover your likes, your dislikes, your desires. You return to the things you once abandoned, the dreams you sacrificed, the voice you once silenced. And through all of this, you come to understand another truth, that the narcissist's biggest mistake truly was losing you. Because you were never ordinary, you were someone who could love deeply and unconditionally. You were someone who could listen, understand, endure. You were someone who could build something real and meaningful. And when they lost you, they didn't just lose a person, they lost an opportunity they will never have again. But this is no longer about them. This is no longer their story of loss. This is your story of freedom. You are no longer defined by someone else's perception. You are no longer dependent on someone else's approval. You are no longer reshaping yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You have taken yourself back, your power, your voice, your identity. And this did not happen quietly. It happened after every tear you cried, every night you held yourself together, every moment you chose courage and truth. You are no longer just surviving, you are learning how to live again. And in this journey, you also come to understand that healing is not a straight line. It is a circle. Sometimes you move forward, sometimes you step back, but each time you return stronger, wiser, clearer. You are no longer afraid of losing yourself because you have found yourself once, and now you know you will never lose yourself again. And this is the power, this is the awakening that is leading you into a new life where you are not living just to be with someone, but to be whole within yourself.